and you feel weak. And that's why there's a huge direct link, bro, between men that have been sexually abused and physical violence, because that's my way of trying to prove that you couldn't get one over me again, sort of thing, was to try and to overcompensate in other areas, basically. And so whether or not, I'm not saying that I was tough or that I did very well, but shit, I wanted to, I was definitely the first one to resort to violence, and I was very angry. Whether or not it got me very far was another story.
Kia ora and welcome back to Coerce, the System, Not Each Other, a podcast led by the youth panel at Youth Voices Action, who are speaking up for change and pushing for safer systems across New Zealand.
Today, we're sitting with survivor and advocate Sam Troth, the founder of Road to Healing Aotearoa. Many of you will know Sam from his powerful hikoi from Bluff to Cape Ranga in 2022, and from his work supporting survivors and calling for justice reform. We're grateful to have him here today and share with us his story, his insights, and his hopes for change.
We're your hosts, Ara and Adam. Thank you for being here today. Let's get into it. Sam, thank you for being with us and sharing your kōrero.
Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
For those who may not have crossed paths with you yet, would you like to introduce yourself and share what inspired you to found this kaupapa?
So my name's Sam. I'm a father of 7, 4 by way of marriage, and 3 adopted children or whāngai children. So we've got a big family. I'm also a survivor of sexual violence, and I've spent many years struggling with the aftermath of that. I had a very misspent youth and early 20s, in and out of prison and things like that, and spent quite a lot of years in addiction as well. I got some help. I finally reached out. I hit a rock bottom, so to speak, and got on the mend. And it's been a long journey, about 6 years, coming up 6 years now that I've been sort of working on myself. A few years ago, I decided to walk the country and create a platform so that I could basically role model the progress that I'd made and hopefully inspire other people. And from there, it's just sort of grown to what it is now. We've done 4 major events, walked the whole country in 2022. We went from Hikurangi to Taranaki across the centre of the North Island in 23. Last year we cycled 2,000 kilometres around the South Island, and this year we walked from Cape Ranga to the Beehive with our first petition for law reform around sexual violence.
Awesome. These walks have actually had a long history in New Zealand as a way to raise awareness and bring people together. What made you feel like this was the right way to carry this?
I had a mate actually sent me a podcast, and in that podcast, it was a guy from Australia who'd had a very similar story to myself, had created a charity or a foundation, and he cycled across Australia, raising awareness for sexual violence and for suicide. His story really resonated with me, and a mate sent me that podcast link, and I said, oh, look, I can't ride a push bike. It's been years. And he said, oh, well, you could walk though. And, a few months later, it was quite a short period of time. I think that might have been June or July. And then by October, I was literally walking the country. So I guess, I was just inspired by his story, and I resonated with where he'd come from and what he'd been through after his abuse as well, and the ways that he dealt with it. And it was just sort of like hearing my story, but a different dude. So I thought, if I could do something similar and help someone that's in the position I was then it's a win-win,
Yeah, for sure. Man of action, eh? There's a quick turnover from deciding that's what you want to do and doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So in this series, we've talked a little bit about coercive control, such as those patterns of manipulation, isolation, intimidation, and control. Looking back, were there any behaviors or red flags you now recognize as signs that you weren't safe at the time?
Yeah, definitely. Isolation is definitely one of them, manipulation, 100%, like all of those things, all of that stuff, and not only myself, but my father first, it was someone who worked with my dad, and obviously they manipulated and sort of coerced my father first to get access to me, and then from there they started creating these activities, motorbike riding, shooting and hunting and tramping and water sports, water skiing, and all the stuff that wasn't happening in our home because we weren't rich, we weren't well off. And I mean, so he manipulated the situation, he controlled it, he bought me gifts, all of these sorts of things, you know, that my parents couldn't, for one. And it also would isolate me from other adults because a lot of these things were group activities. And then, you know, and eventually grew to just him and myself going on these sorts of things, and spending a lot of alone time. And that was, you know, isolation. So yeah, definitely all of those red flags looking back now. And especially as a parent, those are all the things I'm looking at when I'm seeing interactions with my children, and even with our teenagers as well, and making sure that they're also not behaviors that any of my teenage children are taking into their consensual relationships. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It would be hard to differentiate because it's such like kind of normal activities and things that was happening. And then I can only imagine as a parent, of course, to try and navigate like, is this a healthy interaction or is this on the verge of unsafe?
Got to be quite cautious because, yeah, while they are normal activities, is it going to lead somewhere or
Mm.
is it just
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's the motive behind those activities, because like, I my children enjoy all those activities now, and they enjoy those activities with both myself and friends of the family, and uncles and stuff like that. So it's a real fine line. And I said it a while ago with another interview that quite often red flags can also be green flags with safe people and safe spaces. Those things that we're looking for with people we're already cautious of or whatever, they present as a red flag, but they can also be qualities we're looking for in other human beings, you know, like being caring and understanding, and encouraging of the kids, and engage with the kids, and trying to, you know, do activities with the kids, and create this whole like, you know, family days at the lake, or family days riding motorbike, or whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
it's almost trying to look past what's going on, and try and see the intention.
Yeah, because I was always told like, you know, you have this idea of what you think the person looks like who is likely to do this to you, and it's often far from the truth. It's actually more dangerous to think it's this like stereotypically like creepy older person, but
Yeah.
it is whānau friends. Like, yeah, well, it can be more often than not someone that you know and yet, like you say, have that bond and relationship with. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
for you when you were younger? What was it like trying to make sense of all of this when it was happening to you?
Um, there was no making sense of it, bro. I was just real angry, man, and real embarrassed and ashamed and guilty, and just a raft. It was just a huge darkness, bro. It's just a huge darkness, and not having an older positive role models around me, it quickly spiraled into, you know, criminal activity, and violence and drugs, basically. Yeah, just an angry little boy, bro. Yeah.
Do you feel being male made it harder to speak out, especially with the stigma around masculinity and vulnerability?
Yeah. I mean, I would say different, not hard, because I know how hard it is. I don't want to discredit anyone else's experience or anything like that, bro. But I would say it's different. There's a huge amount of shame attached to it straight off the bat, because we're meant to be the protectors, we're meant to be the providers, we're meant to be the strength in the two genders, you know, and to even for yourself to wrap your head around it for your own thoughts, and that fuck, I let that happen, or I could have, would have, should have. And then, like, how do I tell a mate, or how do I tell anyone? Because it's just so shameful, and you feel weak. And that's why there's a huge direct link, bro, between men that have been sexually abused and physical violence, because that's my way of trying to prove that you couldn't get one over me again, sort of thing, was to try and to overcompensate in other areas, basically. And so, whether or not, I'm not saying that I was tough or that I did very well, but shit, I wanted to, you know, I was definitely the first one to resort to violence, and I was very angry. Whether or not it got me very far was another story.
Is that why you kind of went into your work around the peer support and stuff to kind of um, tell young men or men full stop that you don't have to be angry and we can work through this, and just like, yeah, kind of breaking down that stigma and having those open conversations and stuff like that?
Oh, 100%. Like, doing the peer support training was a no brainer, because my page, my my DMs, and people would comment and they'd say stuff. I'd say, "Oh, send me a DM," or they just messages would come through, and they still do. And when I'm doing events, it's like shit. It can be like 10 a day sort of thing, for like 6 or 8 weeks, a couple of weeks before and a couple of weeks after the events, and usually it settles down to a couple a week, 3 a week or something. And so I'm constantly like um, maintaining chat with people, you know what I mean? And it's simply because like I saw a psychologist and she did amazing for me. Like she really got me to a good place, but it didn't get me to where I really needed to go. And peer support, receiving peer support from another man who had been through it, that when I explained it, he wasn't looking at me like, when we talked about it, he was like, just like, "Yeah, bro. Yeah. Oh, fuck, man. What about da 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 da?" And I'm like, "Whoa, you too, bro? Like, holy man. What about da 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 da?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, I struggle with that too." And you're
Yeah.
just, shit, I don't believe there's a higher qualification than someone who's already done it, qualified by life, lived
Yeah.
experience. There's definitely a place for the clinical. And I think everyone that's had serious or complex trauma um, should definitely get clinical support as well. But once you're in a good enough space, peer support's huge. And even it's a lot harder. But, I talk to and work with a lot of men that are at ground zero, they are at rock bottom, and they don't want clinical support. And but I still seem to be able to hold space well enough to get them moving forward, which is, yeah, I think it's priceless.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a lot of what we are missing today is that human on human, like empathy, real human interaction, and people that stop and listen. How does one kind of get in touch with you for peer support? Is it shooting you a DM or is it through your
Yeah,
website?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know of organizations right across the country, obviously. And first and foremost, I always ask people, where are they from? And if I know good people in their area, I'll say, shit, man, cool. Well, what I'll get you to do at some stage is to ring so and so, and I'll get you to go in there because they're running a men's group, or she's running a this, or they're running a that, whatever. So I always try and back it up with someone that they can see in the physical. But
Mm.
it's almost, and I have had it quite a few times. It's almost like I was saying before, it's ground zero, but it's like almost crisis, or helping to just navigate through this early stage. But I mean, I've got guys that I've been chatting to for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and we chat like regularly, like once or twice a week, or they'll message me something shit will happen, and they'll be like, "Oh, bro, this happened," or blah, So I'm always there, through the DMs is the one, and we also have a website, and you can reach out through the website as well if you're sort of not on social media or not as social media savvy or whatever.
Mm. Yeah. And with working with people at different stages of their journey and working through it, for yourself, listening at being that support for them, how do you protect yourself and kind of draw that line of not letting it get too close to home? What tools do you kind of have for
Yeah.
that?
So obviously, yeah, obviously I've got to look after my well-being. Sometimes the shares can be a lot. Sometimes I don't think I'd be human if I didn't get upset. I don't think I'd be doing the right thing if I wasn't crying sometimes when I read these messages, or when I'm, like chatting away with someone through messages, and I'm like, and the replies I'm getting, I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
physical exercise is good for me, but I'm not a fitness person.
Yeah.
I have a day job, so I'm a builder, and at the moment I actually work FIFO in Australia. So work is really good for me as well, because for 8 or 10 or 12 hours, depending on what we're doing of the day, I'm just focused on work, and then I can catch up on what's going on with the page and all the rest of it and any other stuff outside of work. But walking when I'm not working, when I'm on downtime, definitely walking, trying to spend time with my own kids, and also supervision, but not in the way that most people that are working for an organization or something like that would have supervision, where it's all clocked and logged and all the rest of it. I have a couple of really good mates, and I'm in a really good network of awareness and sexual abuse awareness advocates, where I can lean on quite a lot of them, and vice versa. So although I don't get official supervision, I get to offload and talk to other people that obviously realize that what we're talking about is confidential, and they offer me support and stuff like that. So it's really good. Like, I've built a really good network over the last few years. So that's probably the most key thing, is having someone that I can just be 100% straight up with and say exactly how I feel, or exactly how something's made me feel, or whatever. That's a huge part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want?
No, I think we're getting through it. It's good.
Yeah,
This is
that was
good.
good. Yeah, definitely like not offloading, but I think it is definitely important to make ourselves think, why are we feeling this way, so we can definitely get down to the root of it, because it's easy to just be like, oh, I'm angry at this, or this person's this and that. But when you actually stop and dig deeper, that's where the true understanding, and then you can go forth and not let it maybe affect you as much next time, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool
Yeah,
to have all
exactly.
those supports.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So like, we a lot of people, not just in the sexual abuse but in the sexual abuse, it's, a lot of people say, speak up, speak out, unload it. I always encourage people to get it off their chest. And same in the mental health space, it's reach out, reach out. So if we're not reaching out ourselves as advocates or support people, then
Yeah.
there's a little thing that we're telling everyone else to do. So I one mate in particular, he's a big mental health advocate. We just ran he organized it all, and I just co-facilitated the retreat with him, with these men this weekend just gone. And he'll challenge me. So I'll say, oh, X, Y, Z. And he'll be like, but why are you feeling like that, bro? Is that because of this, this, and this? Or is that Sam? Or is this little Sam coming through? Or what's actually coming for you? And sometimes I haven't got the energy for it. I'm just like, bro, I just like, cheers, man. Right, bro, I'm just telling you how my day's thing. But 95% of the time, I'm like, it makes me stop. And I stop and I think, okay, so where's this coming from? Is this something that I need to address myself? Have they just turned another or peeled another layer off my onion, sort of thing? Because that's what the trauma and all of this stuff is about. Is like, there's so many layers to it, and so many things and things you forgot you did, especially when you were in your survival mode after your abuse, things that you did that you may not be proud of or whatever. And you're like, so you just sort of constantly got to go back and address it so that you can move forward with it, like you got to feel it to heal it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you spoke about when you were younger, you did feel very angry, isolated, and kind of alone. Did you have anything that you'd want to say to someone who was experiencing that now, and they're kind of just going on that downward path, I suppose, because they don't know how to express their feelings or the trauma that they just dealt with?
That's not yours to carry. And you're not alone, because it happens to so many of us. You've only got to put it into your social media tab, and you'll find so many pages that are advocating and trying to make change and are offering support and stuff like that, just to prove that you're not alone. And it's not yours to carry. That's the shame, the guilt, all of that shit. It doesn't go with it. And what you're doing now is only going to make things harder down the track. So the cliche thing is you need to reach out to someone. You need to tell someone, find your person, whether it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, your cousin, your best friend, your girlfriend. Find someone safe that you trust and tell them what's going on, and they will be able to hold space and help you find the resources you need. Until you tell someone what's going on, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to keep escalating, and it's going to consume you eventually. So the best thing you can do is to let someone know what's going on inside you, and then you can start to figure out what trail you need to walk to find your way.
Can't keep it bottled up. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Nah, you can't, bro. It's especially something like this. Like, you cannot, like, the average reporting time's like 15 or 18 years for someone that's experienced sexual harm, sexual violence.
Oh.
And then it gets a lot longer for men as well. They're usually most average in their 40s when they disclose. And from someone who supports a lot of people and have, like, I've met thousands of brothers and sisters that have been through this stuff. It's way easier to help when you're younger, before you've had the addiction, the toxic relationships, the criminal record, all of those other things, the dysfunctional relationships, you know, basically, and it's a lot easier when you haven't burnt all the bridges you walked across, basically. Yeah. So, I mean, the sooner you can reach out for help, the better.
Yeah. Try and help someone up before they fall further down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And crazy how, your trauma responses, like you say, show up in all your daily life. Yeah, the addiction, the relationships, all of that stuff. And It's hard though, because I feel like we have those programs in schools and everything, but when you're actually like living it, it must be harder to identify this is what this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know things have changed a lot in school now. We have RSE and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be a bigger focus and earlier than I think body safety and body autonomy really needs to, we just need to bite the bullet and start actually teaching that. And there's so many good resources that 9 times out of 10 survivors have made these, children's books to help explain and navigate these conversations with kids, but it needs to start early. And we need to be putting a huge focus into that education around it. And that will create an environment where if it is happening, these children aren't going to feel like they're about to say something stupid or something that the teachers or the school or the family isn't equipped to deal with.
Yeah.
I can remember being a young person and going through what was then SIPs, but is now tamariki, going through their care and being in residential facilities. And all I ever wanted was for someone to ask me what actually happened, like what is going on for you? And I would have disclosed. Like there was a time there where I was desperate to tell someone, and that time kind of got lapsed as I got older and got more and more angry, basically, and it
Yeah.
became my attitude almost changed to, ask me to fuck you.
Mm.
Yeah, like,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I was sick of waiting, someone to ask, yeah, or
Yeah.
someone to even for the conversation to be brought up, so that I thought, oh shit, well maybe after this lesson or whatever, I could go and talk to that teacher or whatever, but no, it never happened. So I think we've got to knuckle down and get onto that as early as we can.
Mm. It's crazy that that's like a general statement to like, how are you? Like, what is going on with you? But no one actually stopped to ask you that, and
Yeah.
you're waiting for it. Like, oh, next time they ask me, I'll tell them. I'll tell them. But would this also be like when you were in SIFs? Oh, whatever. Sorry,
Yeah.
when you were at SIFs,
Yeah.
it's just also that they didn't just ask you what happened to you, because they were beating around the bush or trying to fluff around it, or is this just like in general? Does that?
I think, no, I think, and I can't speak for now, but like I was abused in state care as well,
Mm.
and I believe that there aren't enough of the right people doing the job. So I think, and because they're obviously bound by policies and this and that, so the good ones are just like banging their head against a brick wall, and the bad ones are causing more harm and causing more trauma. I'd like to say it's not happening now, but it is still happening now. There are youth advocate groups that advocate for the children that have been in state care since 1999 because of the Royal Commission that only went from 1950, I think, to 1999. So we had this huge Royal Commission for state and faith-based abuse.
Yeah.
And we all got a voice and we all had this process, but now we have activists for the children that are in care now and the children that were in care, from the millennium on. So it is still happening. I just think like education is key, and whether we're in school or whether we're in state care or church, I think that's the most time in our life when we're the most captive audience, is we're all sitting there. We can get all of the young people in one neighborhood or in some cases in one town in small town college. You've got all of the next generation sitting there, and we're not taking the opportunity to teach them about or explain to them some of the most serious and common problems in New Zealand that they're either facing or going to face. The latest Lancet study out of Australia says that it's 1 in 5 boys and 1 in 3 girls by age 18. And another study that was just passed over at Parliament by the Helen Clark Foundation said it's 209,000 victims of sexual violence a year.
Outrageous.
And so that works out to be 1 every 3 minutes. So when we look at that and then we think about like asthma, the numbers for sexual violence are bigger than asthma. They're bigger than ADHD. They are bigger than autism. They are bigger than any of the other things that are on spectrum. They are bigger than disabilities. I saw a study that 1 in 9 children identified as either being curious about being part of the rainbow community or in the rainbow community, or we're basically 1 in 9 children identified as that, and we put a lot of focus and energy into that. And there's a lot on both sides. However, the reality is the conversation's being had and the kids know all about it. Sexual violence blows those numbers out the water.
Yeah.
When you put the 1 in 5 and the 1 in 3 together, that actually works out. The closest number you can get to is almost 1 in 4 if you assume that both genders are equally numbered, in population. So it's like, even if we said 1 in 5, so it's, children, it's
Children.
20% of our children are being sexually abused. And when we talk about the rainbow community, the numbers are way higher in that, and with children that are identifying as part of the rainbow community as well. So it's, I get frustrated because, like, I see ads on television for drink driving and road safety campaigns. And the reality of it is our children, the chances of them being in a car accident and having a permanent injury, and that's what sexual violence creates. It's post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Either way, it's permanent injury, permanent impairment. The likelihoods, I haven't actually crunched numbers, but I would say it's probably 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500 or something like that. And then when we look at our children and we think, well, by the time they finish high school, there's our daughters, 1 in 3 chance they're going to be sexually assaulted or experience sexual violence. It's out of control. When you compare it to other things, cancers, so it's bigger than breast cancer, bowel cancer, testicular cancer, all of the cancers. There's more people are sexually violated than get cancer.
Yeah.
But we're not having these conversations when we have captive audiences. And I think schools is when we need to be telling them about this stuff.
Mm. Yeah, especially if it is a lot of our young people too. Yeah, our most vulnerable and then our future, and they're unaware. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's frightening. It's frightening. And I know that there's a lot of backlash from other people that advocate, let kids be kids. I think one of the pages is or whatever, and they advocate against a lot of stuff. And I get some of their points of view, but the reality of it is when over 80% of the sexual harm is happening within the home or by someone that is coming into the home, we can't rely on the home to be educating it and providing this education to the kids. We can't. Because the reality of it is what's happening is 4 out of 5 times is under the roof that we're expecting to educate them.
Yeah,
The math doesn't work.
exactly. And I feel
Yeah.
like we don't need this all or nothing approach. Like we either have the education or we do not. Like, surely advocates like yourself and then those ones let kids be kids, surely we can meet in the middle and implement something, because something does need to happen for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that would be the key, is to come together and say, look, well, what can we agree on? Can we agree on that we need to teach them the appropriate names for their genitals? Can we agree that we need to teach them about secrets aren't safe and this and that, trust their instincts? Can we agree on all of that? Cool. Can we put that into a curriculum and make that compulsory? Sweet. Now, if you want something else taught to your children, teach it yourself.
Yeah. The longer we fight, the more argue about what should and shouldn't be done, the more years that are just going to pass, right?
Still gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's scary, man. It's real scary, And I've worked with a few young fellas and through, because I used to volunteer for an organization. When I did my peer support training, I volunteered for an organization, and I had 3 young people on my caseload, but 2 in particular I worked with quite a lot, and 1 in particular I just actually caught up with the other week, and they were real simple to get back on track. Like, it was real straightforward. But yeah, like I was saying before, the adults I work with, shit, man, they go like, you gotta open up a garage door to get all this shit and to have a look at it all, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think education is key, education and awareness. And then we can, and law reform as well. Those are the 3 things where we're lacking, if we put our time and energy into, we would see some serious results.
You spoke about that petition you handed to Parliament in your most recent hikoi. Would you be able to give a little explanation on what the petition was and why you chose that topic and why you chose that for your petition?
Yeah. So we've got 3, we had 4, but we've dropped 1 off because there was another breakthrough in that area, and that was around name suppression. So we just dropped our 1 off because, we've got 3 that we're kind of pushing and that are going through the process. So it's going to be a long, drawn out process. And the more we're doing, the less we're doing it well. So the first one that we took through in April, we only ran it for 5 weeks because I wanted it to be, I knew we were running it over my event. And so I knew it would get enough attention, and I wanted to be able to show lots of signatures in a short period of time. So we got just shy of 8,000 signatures in 5 weeks on that one.
Oh,
Good amount.
And that was for minimum mandatory sentences of 8 years imprisonment. So for multiple reasons, one of them is to reflect the damage the crime does. For two is to create consistency within the sentencing of these people, because there was a case just last week. A woman was convicted of raping a 14-year-old boy, and she got 12 months home detention. Yeah. So, and then the next day there was a 19-year-old convicted. I think he was 16 when he did it, convicted of raping his 8-year-old cousin. And he got his sentence started at 8.5, but after they applied all the discounts, he got 4.5 years. So still not long enough. So, I mean, 8-year minimum mandatory sentence, it reflects the severity of the crime. It acts as a deterrent for people that are having these wrong thoughts,
For sure.
but perhaps wouldn't act out on them if they didn't see all these other people getting home detention and stuff for them, to make the reward outweigh the risk. You know what I mean? Or the other way around. Make the risk outweigh the reward. Also, 8 years, because there's a lot of people that, I mean, I've changed, but I was never a sexual perpetrator. My personal opinion on this doesn't matter. But 8 years, if there were programs that the government believed, or there was successful data to show that it was helping reduce reoffending, 8 years would give them plenty of time to put them through as many programs as they possibly could before they were released back into the community. It would also give the survivor a period of time to heal from the trauma or from the re-traumatization of the judicial process. It would give them time to heal, to move forward, possibly forgive if that's what they want to do. Maybe they'd move towns, maybe they'd move countries, whatever, but it would give them 8 years to accept the fact that that person will be back out on the street, instead of going through all that trauma and then the person gets home detention, or the person gets 12 months jail, or whatever. It's for the survivors to feel validated for speaking up and standing up, because I've had people tell me, what the fuck is the point? I said, bro, you could go to the cops, man, if you're ready to do that, I don't know, what the fuck is the point, man? Go to trial and have to fucking tell all these random strangers my story, get cross-examined by some lawyer who's getting paid big bucks. And then for the dude, if he does get found guilty, for him to what? Get 18 months jail. Shoplifters get longer than that. And I'm like, yeah, you're fucking dead right. Like, why would you waste all that? So it makes it really hard. And then there's a lot of, with the amount of victims we have, or survivors, there's a lot of perpetrators of this out there. And so they get to keep their modus operandi never changes, especially if they haven't been caught. They only stop when they're caught. And even then it's very questionable whether they stop at all after they're caught, and there's so many reoffenders. I saw a study that within the first 5 years, it's about a 40% reoffending rate for sexual offenders released from prison in New Zealand. But that was in the early 2000s, that study. I can't find anything newer.
And do you think we should have more studies looking into topics around sexual harm? Do you think that the statistics, has it been easy for you to find the statistics, or would you want more relevant?
Yeah, they vary a lot. So different studies will produce different numbers. I think if the studies are free and people are volunteering to do the work, sweet. But otherwise, we need to be changing the laws. We need to be creating, we need to be educating. So I think that money would be better spent on the conversation around, like, bringing all the parties together on the RSE stuff and saying, right, let's come up with a curriculum that 80% of parents can agree with, or something like that, or even 60%, because that's more than enough. And let's run that curriculum. I think that would be better tax dollars spent. Like, we know the problem is, we know it's horrific. We know it's, you've only got to speak to other people, like in the addiction recovery space and correction space, that the overwhelming majority every single time is childhood trauma, and it's either sexual or physical violence. That's 3/4 of your men that are in prison. It's over 80% of your women that are in prison with survivors of sexual violence. 2/3 of your in-house mental health care people have been sexually abused. I've spoken to someone who's been in the addiction space for like, I think she said about 12 or 14 years, and she runs her own charity now, but works for some of the big company or the big organizations down south. And she said she reckons it's as high as 90%. She reckons if she's got a group of new residents that are doing a residential rehabilitation program for either meth or alcohol or whatever, she reckons as soon as the first person she is and said, this is what happened to me, she reckons it's like dominoes. Everyone in the circle says the same thing. So I think we know the problem is out of control. I think we need to start educating people on the problem, and then probably investing in how do we fix the problem, which I believe a huge part of it is law reform. A huge part of it is law reform for a start. Yeah.
I mean, this is why you've been doing your walks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What is it like walking that far? Because it's quite a distance.
It's pretty cool, bro. Like you smell everything, you hear everything, you see everything. Like in a car, you're just flying at 100 Ks, bro. You'll hear water and see sights, and you get to see things for a lot longer, like walking the desert road, for instance, like I'm staring at the moment. It's most of the morning, and then they're beside me, and then they're behind, like all day I could see them, you know what I mean? So you see all of this beautiful stuff, and you're like, literally you're slowing down and taking the world in. It's sore on the legs and the hips. Sort of doing 40, 50 Ks a day, and then sort of doing that for 2 or 3 days and then resting for a day. It's intense, but it's like, it's a mental game, and it's cool to be able to tell your body, no, keep going, and nah, we're doing this, and to achieve it. It's like a real cool feeling. And then it probably makes you over aware of when you're being a bit lazy, or when you're being a bit like, like I should really get up and do something, or I've been on my phone for too long, or I haven't been, you know what I mean? So you're like, well, look, if you can walk the country, man, you can get out there and go for a 20-minute walk now to make yourself feel better or something. So it's good accountability after the fact, because you're like, well, if you can do all of that, then, you can't sit around here and mope, so it really helps with mindset. Yeah.
I mean, were there any encounters out there that really like stayed with you?
Yeah, there was one, bro. So I usually carried wet wipes with me, and on this particular day, I didn't have any wet wipes with me, just in case I needed to go number twos in the middle of nowhere,
Yep.
obviously. So I walked. There was no houses for ages, and this was in the Manawatu region. And I actually just drove past there the other day, and I was trying to spot the house, but I think I might have saw it. I can't quite remember if it was a house or not. It felt like there was no. So I'm walking along, and I need to go number 2. And so I rock up to this house, and I asked the dude, I knock on the door, and I asked this, and he come out, and he's quite a big fella and had a home detention bracelet on. And I asked him if he had some toilet paper. I said, oh, bro, look, I'm just walking the country. Toilet paper, bro. Can you hook a bro up? And he's sort of like, yeah, all right. And so I come out and give me some toilet paper. And he goes, why are you walking? And I said, I was sexually abused as a child, and I'm walking the country now, and I have a social media page, and I'm trying to raise awareness around the problem around it, and how it, like how it affected me, and try and inspire some other people to get some help as well, bro. Because I know a lot of brothers, and his demeanor sort of changed a little bit. And I said, oh, you should check me out. I'll show you my, jump on my page. And he said, oh, my bail conditions, I'm not allowed to be on social media. I'm not allowed a phone. And I was like, oh, bro. And he goes, but thanks for what you're doing. He gave me a handshake and a hug, and off I went with the toilet paper. The next day I got a message. So obviously he breached his bail. He messaged me on Facebook, and he basically he was going to kill himself that day, bro.
Good man.
He thought that it was a divine intervention or whatever, one of those kind of moments for him. He decided he was going to reach out and get some help for it. And yeah, so basically, we sent a few messages back and forth, but yeah, the first one was beautiful, and he just thanked me for basically saving his life. So it's pretty crazy to think like that I ran wipes, and then
Yeah.
you know what I mean, bro? It was pretty cool, man. And then dozens of other people reaching out virtually. Connecting with people, man. Like I remember when we walked from Hikurangi to Taranaki, when we were walking on the State Highway 35 on the beautiful coast, one of the most beautiful roads I've ever seen in the country. And the community spirit, like it was like someone I don't know if someone put our post up on a on a marae page or on a community page or what happened, but people were stopping and talking. And I remember this one morning, this old nanny was like at her gate and we come past and she's yelling out to her partner and she goes, they're coming now. And this old koro was like fucking trying to stand up on the doorstep and he sort of takes a couple of steps down and they're both like basically at their front little gate as we're walking past and they're like, thank you so much, and we're just like, how did they even know what we're up to? Maybe they heard, some of their kids were talking about it or whatever, but they were like, if you want a cup of tea, I was like, no, we're going to keep walking, Nanny. But thank you, and they're just, oh, thank you. Just beautiful,
Awesome.
Well, I mean, to hear, I can't even imagine how it felt in that moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
You walk away, like even when someone drives past and beeps and waves, you're like,
Yeah.
but after a good interaction, like I literally walk away and
You're boosting it down the stairs.
walking faster. Yeah, it's like a recharge. It's a quick little recharge, And I've had dudes come walk with me, women come and walk with me, share their stories, like lots of that. Yeah, just some real cool shit, man. Real cool shit. When I rode my push bike around the South Island, I was reached out to a lot of and emailed a lot of service providers and organizations right around the South Island and said, this is what I do. This is what I'm doing. I've noticed you haven't got a very big social media presence, but I get good reach. I can come, we can meet up and I can highlight what you're doing to help with the problem that I'm talking about. And some reached out back and I did meet quite a few good people, but some didn't. And one particular town that no one emailed us back, and there was a couple of providers there, was Greymouth. And we actually had the Mungal mob come out, a couple of them on their bikes, and they rode their bikes like 30 Ks behind me while I'm riding my push bike
So cool.
because they believed in what I was doing, man. And it just spoke volumes. So not only was I reaching people that were working for government, other advocates, Joe Blow in the community, but also like some of our most at risk or disfranchised members of the community as well. They actually put on a feed for us at another local service, Māori service provider. And we went in there and we did some speaking and we got middies and had hangi and it was epic, and some of their whānau came in and we had these conversations. It was fucking beautiful, so it's like, it's just cool to have this, like, because I feel like I have quite a broad reach. And again, it's just like, I left there and I was thinking like, fuck, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, and then he's sharing my content. So obviously, and then obviously the other gangsters that he's communicating with and all his mates and stuff, they're seeing it as well. And so it's getting the message out there to all the corners and all the walks of life. It's awesome.
How many people did you have walking with you, or was like at a certain time join you and maybe
we
a break off or?
Yeah. So we've probably had about probably 10 or 11, maybe 12 people come and walk with us by themselves. And just, quite a few that didn't want to be on social media, quite a few that were keen, like, yeah, let's get a photo at the end of the day. But they were there to tell their story and walk.
Yeah.
We did a community walk when I walked through Waihi, when I did the whole country, because that's where I'm from. And we probably had 30 or 40 people. I had quite a few mates from from Cambridge to Hamilton. Had about 8 or 9 mates, maybe 10 mates, all come and walk with me as well, which was really cool. It was a bit of so the boys don't, like mates from back in the day. So it's quite cool. Everyone yarning and catching up on life and cracking up about the things we used to do and stuff. So that was cool. When we went to Parliament, we probably had a group of about 15 odd people when we actually walked from down the road. We did like a 4K, 3K walk. So we weren't far from Parliament, but yeah, we really got 14, 15 people there with us, which was fucking awesome,
Yeah, for sure. And would you always make sure that after your 40 Ks a day, you were stopping in at like a backpackers or something, or were you camping?
Like,
did you carry this?
Yeah. I went for this walk because I was unassisted. I didn't have a pilot vehicle, nothing. We had to base the whole walk from accommodation to accommodation. And then we also had to try and take into consideration where was I going to get food? Because ideally I needed to be staying somewhere where they had a bistro or a restaurant site as well. If it was a pub or if it was a campground, there needed to be like something really close or whatever. Some of it was hotels. Some of it was, we tried backpackers a little bit, but that didn't have a very good experience of one of the backpackers. So we went back to hotels and things like that. And that was on the first walk. Second walk, we had a caravan and a house bus.
Oh yeah.
So we were like, yeah. And then with Pilot, we had a vehicle that was at the campgrounds, and we got sponsored. So it's a car campground on the 35, the Taumaranui Holiday Park. They both sponsored us like a week each.
Yep.
So we just went there, used their facilities. That was cool. And then I had a friend who runs an organization in Rotorua called Save Our Babies Charitable Trust. And we went, when we got to that stage, we parked up the caravan and the bus and stuff at her place, and she actually gave us her whole footing. So it's cool. And then on the bike ride, we had my truck that was kind of like, had a setup in it where you could sleep, and we had a rooftop tent, but we just went to campgrounds again. And then this year just gone, we did a bit of a combination of camping with my truck that was all set up. You could like drop down kitchen and kind of like fridge and power source and all that. And so we did a combination of that and a few hotels, motels, and cabins as well. So yeah, I mean, it's all self-funded.
Yeah.
So the cheaper we can do it, the better. But then also, like, you got to be realistic. Like, sometimes after you've walked a few big days, you kind of like, you want to sleep somewhere a little bit nicer than camping, or on a airbed, or on a foam mattress in your truck.
Yeah, for sure. It's so cool to hear where you started, like trying to make it work, keep walking to there, and then now having your truck set up and everything. Like, it's so cool
Yeah.
to hear where you are. Do your kids come walk with you for a bit, or like support you on your walks?
Yeah, yes. On my first walk, they will walk some of the last day with me. On my coast to coast, my oldest son was actually staying in the Taranaki region at the time. So he come and walked the very last day with me, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Next year, we're planning something and hoping, I've just got to confirm, but I think my oldest son and his partner are going to be part of the support crew as well. So that's going to be cool. They encourage online, they support online, and I'm always checking in and talking to them and that. And it's cool. Like, they'll throw up comments like, yeah, love you, Dad, proud of you, and stuff like that, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, or I'll quite often, I might see something funny or do something funny that I don't put on my page, but I'll send to the family group chat or something, and so get a bit of banter happening around those sorts of things and stuff. Yeah. But they're very supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to have that support for your big walks like this. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You need it, bro. Yeah. It's
Yeah. It's not a small walk, is it?
no, definitely not.
I already asked. I was wondering, you finished it in what, like 55? The first one, was it 55 day
Yeah, it was 55 walking days. Yeah.
walking days?
Well,
Yeah,
that was 2,180 kilometers, I think, or
my-
2,280, one of those two.
that's insane. I was wondering, was that within? Did you have like a time frame heading into it, or?
Yeah, we did. We had a pretty unrealistic, our first, like the first schedule was a little bit unrealistic because I think it had me resting like every 8th day or every 6th day
Oh,
or something. We figured in the first week, we're like, that's that's unrealistic. So we pushed it out a little bit. And I also had to take 3 days off for a wedding.
Oh yeah.
And then when originally I was going to finish on Christmas Day. And then what I did is we managed to get some, because I'd sold my truck and sold some of my tools and like sold everything I could basically to fund it all. And then it was looking like at the very end, I couldn't have the family come up.
Mm.
And so got a couple of donations from some mates, and we managed to get a B&B. So the whole family came up. So then I took, because I was going to get to the top. The original plan was to get to the top, jump in a bus, and then have a 7-hour bus ride home.
Oh my god.
Because there wasn't any money left for the family to come up, but it all worked out. And so I took a couple of days off around that bit there so that we could all just have Christmas together at the batch.
Yeah. Like walking, you essentially walked as the weather changed into like peak summer. Like, it's so hot right now today, I feel.
Oh,
How is it
Yeah, like that,
walking
yeah.
today as opposed to maybe when you walked in April?
yeah, April weather was way better, but then so in April we walked through 2 cyclones.
Oh my gosh.
And it was more rain days, or more like either overcast and muggy or raining days than we did fine days. But that was better than walking in the heat. Like, the back of my legs were sunburned and peeling.
Yeah. Ow.
Ouch.
and my lips, like if you lost your chapstick or ran out of chapstick, like you had like literally a couple of hours and your lips were just cracked and dried.
No.
No, thank you all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I was man, I went so brown from that first walk.
yeah. I imagine that's so good.
Yeah.
And at least for the rain, like obviously the water is going to get in your raincoats or whatever, but there's no preventing the heat whatsoever.
Nah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Like there's no way.
yeah, yeah. We have wet weather gear and that, so you can put wet weather gear on, but when it's hot,
Mm.
like you can only go down to your shorts and a t-shirt, because then I couldn't even take my t-shirt off because obviously I get sunburnt. But then I'm walking towards. I need the visibility, so I've seen my shirts are high vis. I need to be seen, so it's
I
almost
think
like a health and
that's
safety
yeah.
risk to have. Take my shirt off, and it's like a health and safety risk. So, but yeah, the rain was good, but then it was on the times we were camping this year. It was a little bit of a downer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Setting up a tent in the rain is no.
Yeah, well, one night it was literally a cyclone, and we couldn't find it. We'd had accommodation booked at a campground, and then we rung them up and said, "Shit, do you have cabins?" And they're like, "No, we can't upgrade you." They had a 2-night minimum for the cabins, and then I said, "Well, we'll pay for 2 nights then, but just give it to us for one." And they're like, "Nah, it's not how it works."
Just
I was like, "Okay, tonight's gonna be the worst night." And then a lady pulled up. She must have seen a live or something, and she goes, "Are you camping tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "No." And so she gave us a room. She had a hotel, sort of like, 4 rooms upstairs, 4 rooms downstairs, beautiful view of the beach. And she gave us that for the night. And we were just like, then, let us use with a washing machine, dryer and all that. It was like, wow, shot.
yeah. Yeah, it's so cool listening to how, like throughout your walks and stuff, like you're really bringing the community together. It's so cool to hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely like that. And that is the coolest thing. It's the people, man. Like, honestly, because I'll go in and get a drink from the servo and like, clearly I'm like, bent a long way. So they're like, and because I'm chatty anyway, I'll be like, "Hey, how you going?" I'm like, "Oh, where are you walking?" I'm like, "Wow, let me tell you." So yeah, having all these wicked conversations, and then like, I might be talking to the person behind the counter, but then 2 or 3 other people have just stopped. They're not even getting served. They're just like, "Oh, well, oh, but good on you," like listening to so it's freaking cool, And then you get people trying not to let you pay and stuff like that, or trying to pay. "Oh, I'll pay for no, I'll pay for that, bro." And I had to learn to accept that, because I'll be like, no, this isn't what it's about. I'm not raising money. I don't want handouts. Like, but then I sort of like had to accept that, because I was like, well, I actually can't afford to keep self-funding this shit. So if they're going to buy me a pie, take the pie and eat it.
End up in that awkward, no, I've got it. And you're like, no.
You're like, no, I don't have it.
Oh, where's my wallet? No. Yeah. Cool. And when we were like reading up on you and everything, I came across your Voices of Hope article, and
Yeah.
I really resonated with your statement that it just doesn't have to be your story. You don't have to be a victim, and you don't have to be that person to speak up and create change. So I just wanted to say, like, that's one of the main kind of thoughts that I have in the back of this, what we're doing here. Coerce the system, not each other. I was fortunate enough not to, I guess, go through any form of physical or sexual harm myself, but I still feel it is definitely important. And going into sort of, can we speak about this? Like, I don't want to be ignorant or someone, when it's like old people telling us young people what to do.
Yeah.
Towards survivors. But then I came across your article reading about this, and I'm like, oh yeah, like it can be us. It is all of our jobs to give survivors a voice and make change.
100%. Like one of the things that I find the most frustrating is that as someone can get a hole in one at the Taupo golf game and it'll make the paper.
Yeah.
Someone could do something real trivial. Like I was supposed to be on breakfast one time and I got bumped, and then we watched the breakfast show anyway, and it was the section I was supposed to be in was about the Zorbs in Rotorua.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fucking serious, man. Like I feel like if you have a voice, use it. If you have a platform, use it. I'm not trying to say treat your whole platform and this is all you, but like if you've got an audience and you can see an issue, like speak to it. You know what I mean? Like, speak to it, man, and add your, because I think not everyone's been abused, but I think almost everybody knows someone that has been abused. And even if you guys didn't before today, you do now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think we almost, like, there's so much on social media, which is like humor, and then, which is awesome. I love laughter and it's cool. Then there's a lot of negativity and a lot of bullshit on there as well. So anyone adding to something that's of value, anyone using their voice or their platform to speak to something that is potentially going to help people going through it and educate people that are none the wiser, it's huge, and it's the same. It's not just sexual violence when I'm talking about that stuff. It's all sorts of things, like, we have voices, like, don't be silenced. Like, as long as you're adding to a conversation constructively, not ripping each other down, or you're wrong, or right, nah. But if we can have constructive adult conversations about real issues, I think, fucking why not?
Yeah.
Please sit down if you're going to just cause drama.
Exactly.
But yeah. Or not going to bring anything constructive to the plate. But otherwise, the only thing that's not constructive is the negativity and the victim shaming and the blame game. Like, I get a lot of people, and it's on both sides, and that you might get, white privilege, or you might get, bloody Māoris, or whatever. And I had to explain to people, like, and I've not wanted to do a post on it because I've done one briefly, and I've just said, like, your race, your religion, and your political view has fucking nothing to do with the problem of sexual violence. But I have had to say to people, it's a us problem. It's not a them problem. And we're so good at, like, going, it's only the Catholic, it's the priests. It's only them doing it, or it's only Māori, or it's only Pākehā, or it's only old dudes, or it's only transgenders, or it's only this. But the fucking reality of it is and it's only police. The reality of it is, you're right, but you're also wrong, because it's all the other groups as well.
Yeah.
Every single group, every single demographic, every single race, religion, there are child abusers in there. And not only child abusers, but there are bad apples. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Not a bad apples.
It's such a contentious thing when all you're doing is stating it is everyone, it's everywhere, and then we start to section off and you play the blame game. It's crazy that is the topic that we choose to fight so hard over.
Yeah. It's like, if we can point the finger at someone, it makes us feel better about our backyard. You know what I mean? When the reality of it is, it's like, no. It's all of our problem. And the statistics are very close. Like, I for who's doing the offending, and the age group, and the demographic, or the race that they come from, their cultural background. You couldn't remove one group, or one religion, or one race, and the problem be halves. Put it that way. Problem's still freaking there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a human thing. It's just, there's always some person doing it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but
yeah,
that's why we're working on it.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to leave with survivors or supporters listening today?
Just thanks for having to listen to the chat. If it's brought anything up and you need some support, flick me a DM or jump on ChatGPT if you've got it, and ask for sexual violence support services, and you'll get way better results, way faster than Google. If you don't have that, Google something. There's Safe to Talk. There's all those resources, and I'm sure they'll probably be up in the bio, or in the writing on this when it goes up. But yeah, just if you need help, reach out. And thank you to everyone for listening, and thank you guys for having me on and having these conversations, because it's important. You guys have got a voice. People are hearing it. Let's use it and create some positive change. So thanks heaps.
No, yeah, thank you for your honesty today and everything you're doing to uplift survivors in our communities. And to everyone listening, thank you for being part of this conversation. Our systems won't shift unless we speak up to support each other and keep pushing for change together. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.